Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hoge, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. That's my book, Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. You can get my book on kobo.com, Kobo.com. You can get my book on Amazon, all the different Amazons. So again, the name of the book, Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. After you read the book or listen to the audiobook, it's time to train your English. Right? You got to train. Just reading about it is not enough. You've got to train every day. That's why I make lessons. Effortless English lessons. So you've got to commit to that, just like an athlete, right? An athlete commits to training every day. If you want to be a great, weightlifter, you've got to exercise, train almost daily. If you want to be a great runner, right, you've got to train. You've got to run. For big athletes, you got to run every day, every week, every month. Oh, and I'm getting rained on. Heavy rain hitting me suddenly. I'm hoping this rain will pass. I'm going to sit here under my umbrella. I'm getting some big heavy rain hitting me right now. Ooh. Okay, back. I had to run. I had to stop for a second and run because I was sitting in the park and suddenly it just started raining. And started raining very hard. So now I'm hiding underneath an awning. AWNING. An awning. An awning is like a cover on the side of a building, right? You got a normal building. Like think of a tall building. But then there's a part that kind of comes out a little bit over the sidewalk, right? Sometimes it's cement. Other times a lot of times it's made from plastic or cloth. That's called an awning. A lot of shops, they'll have an awning, right? To block the sun or block the rain. So I'm hiding under an awning next to a building, next to the park. I was sitting in the park, just started recording, and suddenly it started pouring rain. I had to pull out. I was talking to you. While I was talking to you, I was pulling out my umbrella, and I have a rainproof cover for my backpack, because my backpack has my recorder and papers and stuff, so I had to put that on my backpack. I thought it would stop. It kept raining, so I had to run. I'd turn this recorder off and run. So I'm back now. I mentioned we're going to finish The Alchemist. Also was talking about the need for commitment. That when you train your English, you've got to commit, right? Just like an athlete. Anything you want in life requires commitment. It requires effort towards a goal. Anything meaningful or worthwhile or difficult, it takes time. These things take time. And to achieve something over a long period of time, weeks and months and years, obviously requires commitment, because you got to do it every day, working towards that goal. That's commitment, right? It's another word is dedication. Similar meaning. to get that book of mine, and it teaches you the method and the system. When you're ready to really commit and train, join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Join and commit to my VIP program. Commit to my VIP program today at effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. Okay, now to the topic. I got distracted by the rain. Been thinking more about The Alchemist as we are about to finish up. And, quite obviously the main message of The Alchemist, the main topic, is about what Coelho calls, at least the English translation, calls personal legend. Personal legend. Now again, I don't know, that's not my favorite translation. I like words more like purpose, your deep purpose in life, mission or missions. I think we can have many missions in life. Mission's kind of a smaller, more shorter term. You might have a mission that requires years to work on, but purpose is really the big one. Purpose is big and general. It's the most meaningful. And then inside of your purpose, you'll have many missions. So we could use a military example to explain the difference, right? The purpose of a military, let's say the purpose of the army in general, the purpose of the army is to protect and defend and fight for the country, the nation. So that's its big general purpose. And that will be its purpose always, as long as the army exists and the nation exists. Then that's the purpose of the army. However, an army can have many different missions, and not only the army in general, the big army, but specific units, smaller units inside the army can have lots of different missions during different times. During a war, there may be many, many missions. Maybe the first mission is you must attack that hill and take that hill and hold the hill. So that's the first mission of the unit. So they go and they do that. After they do that, they're not finished. They will get another mission and another mission and another mission. Each mission serves the big purpose, right? So that's kind of the difference between mission or missions and purpose. I think in normal life, people often use the word goal instead of mission, but for me, mission is a stronger word. It has a feeling of more meaning, more dedication, more commitment. A goal can be quite small. I would say a goal is even smaller than a mission. I don't know if this is the dictionary definition, but it's my way of thinking. A goal maybe is to lose 20 pounds of fat. That's a nice specific goal. A mission is to, get into really good shape, to be strong and fit, run a marathon. And then maybe a purpose, a lifelong purpose, will be to live as healthy as possible, not only for yourself, but also to inspire and help others to be healthy and fit. Jack LaLanne, that was his life purpose, right? So it's got the biggest and deepest meaning. That was his life purpose for his whole life. His entire life, that was his big purpose. He had different missions in life, or he had a TV show for a while, and he used that to help his purpose. And then he also was a writer, and he wrote books, and he did lots of different missions to serve his purpose. And then he also had some very specific goals, like he wanted to do a certain number of push-ups or a certain number of pull-ups in, one day or something like that. And he had little goals like that to keep himself motivated and to enjoy. So they're all useful. They're just at kind of different levels, with purpose being deepest. So this idea of personal legend in the story is probably Santiago's story is really kind of, I'd say, at the mission level, right? His mission is to get to the pyramids of Egypt and get his treasure, this treasure that he dreamed about. That's obviously not a full life purpose, because after he does that, well, then it's done, right? And I'd say it's about in the middle level, but it's not just a small goal either. It's a very large and difficult mission in life that he has. And in the book then, Coelho talks a lot about then, how do we find this mission, this personal legend? And he talks about following your desire. We talked about this yesterday, this word desire, and how maybe a better word is intention or intuition, your deep intuition. And I've talked in a few podcasts about this question of, how do we know? When you think about this personal legend, a mission, something you really, really want. How do you know if that's healthy and good or bad and destructive? Right? What's the difference between this mission or what Coelho calls personal legend? What's the difference between that and just craving something? What is often called craving, which has more of a negative feeling of desire, with obvious examples like craving sugary, unhealthy foods, craving drugs or alcohol. We can crave lots of unhealthy things that will cause us to suffer in the long run. How do we know? Because those cravings can also be very, very powerful, and they can come back again and again and again also. And this is why addicts become addicts, because they have this strong craving, this strong desire for the drug or for alcohol, and it keeps coming back again and again and again and again. It keeps coming back. So it's an important question to judge. And I think one way to think of it is by looking at the intention, starting with intention. Intention is kind of reason. It's like your what you plan to do, but it also has a bit of the idea of why, right? So it's kind of gives a little bit of a feeling of purpose too. And you have to bring in, when you have an intention, it's not just you want something, but it also includes a bit of why you want it, why it's important, right? What are you really trying to do? The Dhammapada talks about right intention. In fact, all through the Dhammapada, this word right, this adjective right, is used again and again and again to describe things. Right intention, right concentration, right speech, right action. Now, why is this done? Why the use of this word right? Why is that important? Well, it's because it's to show, it's to guide us and to warn us even that there's also something called wrong, right? There's also wrong intention. There's wrong concentration. And there's wrong desire. There's wrong craving. This is a great way to examine these things, and this will help you get more clear on your missions, your purpose in life, and which desires, which things that you want might be unhealthy and best to avoid, and which might be healthy and good and are best to develop and to really work on. Obviously, ones like drugs are very obvious, but there are others that are not so obvious. And this is where this question comes in. So you can decide, what is this thing that you want? Do you have a right intention or a wrong intention? What's the difference? Here's the way I think about it. We can think of intention, right goal. It's right if your goal, if this intention, this thing you want, if it's leading you towards truth, right? If it leads you in the direction of truth, if it leads you in the direction of wisdom and learning, if it leads you in the direction of reducing suffering in the long run, reducing your long-term suffering and reducing the long-term suffering of others too. All of those are clear signs that your intention, your desire, your goal, your mission is right and good and healthy. On the other hand, what are the signs of a wrong intention? Well, if your wrong intention, your wrong desire is focused on gaining power and control over other people, that's a sign that it's probably a wrong intention. If it's a goal or desire that leads to lies, deception, untruth, then it's a wrong intention. Now here's one that our modern world needs to think about, many of us. A wrong intention, a wrong goal, a wrong desire is focused mostly on pleasure, on just feeling good, especially physical pleasure, but also other maybe emotional pleasures too. It's just focused on pleasure. Now, this goes against a lot of people's ideas. A lot of people think, oh, pleasure is good. Why should I not focus on pleasure? Why is that a wrong intention? Pleasure feels good, right? And for this reason, we live in an age right now, the modern world, the media world, where we are encouraged to have this wrong intention, this wrong focus, that pleasure is the best thing to focus on. Pleasure, man. Pleasure's great, right? Sexual pleasure, right? Sex is everywhere in advertising, movies, television. Oh, it feels so good. Pleasure's wonderful. We are being told. That's the message we're getting. Right? Or in America, maybe Europe too, but I know in America, youth culture is also partying, what they call partying, kind of slang. It basically means drinking a lot, maybe doing some drugs, not hard drugs, but kind of softer drugs like marijuana, things like that, and just dancing and, go, again, very much focused on physical pleasure, right? Those physical feelings in the body that feel so good. What is junk food about? Why do people eat junk food? Well, because it feels good. It's pleasurable. It's not because it tastes bad, right? Donuts taste really good. They're covered in sugar. They taste great, right? It's pleasurable to eat donuts. It's pleasurable to eat ice cream. It's pleasurable to eat lots of cake. It's pleasurable to drink sugary drinks. When all these things feel good in the moment, right? Pleasure. And yet, these old books of all different religions and all different philosophies, not even religion, just philosophy too, the Romans, the Greeks, they all warned against this wrong intention of pursuing, of seeking, of constantly trying to get physical pleasure, that they warned again and again. These ancients warned us, right? All around the world. Okay, it doesn't matter. Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, many of the, not all, but many of the Romans, especially the Stoics, Aristotle and the Greeks, and many others warned again and again and again that pleasure is dangerous. The seeking of pleasure as an intention, as your focus, as your goal, as your mission, is in fact a wrong intention that will lead to unhappiness, that will lead to long-term suffering, that will lead to ignorance, unhealthiness. I'd say in our modern world, that's the most dangerous one. I think most of good people, now there are a lot of bad people, but bad people really just don't care about any of this. They're just going to be bad. But The dangerous one for good people, I think. People who have, good hearts. Don't want to hurt anybody. Don't really want power over other people. None of that. But the pleasure one is dangerous for almost everybody because it seems so innocent. It seems in the short term like, oh, well, what's the big deal? I mean, just eating some cookies. They taste good. Oh, I really enjoy eating them. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And of course, just eating one cookie, there isn't really anything wrong with that. The danger of pleasure is that it is addictive. Physical pleasures are very seductive. Okay, people don't get addicted to drugs because drugs feel bad. They get addicted to drugs because drugs feel good, okay? I've never tried heroin, but everybody I've ever seen interviewed about heroin and heroin addiction, people who have been addicts, they all describe it as feeling amazing, that it is incredibly pleasant, pleasurable, better than eating cookies and cake. Better, many say, in fact, I'd say most of them describe it as far more pleasurable than sex. And yet, all we have to do is just look. You can see it. You can see it physically. Look at a heroin addict. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in their body, what happens to their body after a while, months or years of being addicted to heroin. What happens? Their health is destroyed. They look horrible. They often become thin. Sometimes they become fat. But either way, they just look terrible. Their skin's all messed up. Their face looks horrible. They don't take care of themselves anymore. Their mind becomes messed up and screwed up. They lose all their friends. They can't keep their jobs. I mean, they're a disaster. They are not happy. They are miserable. They are suffering. And the more they pursue and chase that pleasure, that super pleasure that heroin gives them, the more they chase it, the more they try to get it, the more they focus on it, the more unhappy and miserable they become. Pleasure, an intention that is focused on pleasure, will eventually lead to pain and suffering. And that's why it's a wrong intention. So when you're thinking about desires, this is a very important one to think about and ask yourself. And if you see that your desire is focused on some kind of pleasure, be careful. You should start to question that mission and start to think, maybe this isn't such a good thing. And of course, causing pain, any intention or mission or plan or desire that will cause pain to other people, and it's going to hurt others, is not a good one. It's not right. It's wrong. So this brings me back to Santiago. Santiago, this story is kind of interesting. See, Santiago's mission, his goal in this story, is, to me, is a little strange. Right? What's his goal? Treasure. He has a dream about treasure. Right? What is treasure? Gold, money. And I mean, now we'd say money. In the story, it's like gold, right? A big box of gold or something like that. A treasure. And then this is his big mission, right? It takes him years to accomplish this mission, and he works hard at it. So if we look at this desire, is this a right intention to get this treasure? Well, it's actually a little difficult to know this from the story because it's a little strange. He's so focused on getting this treasure, and yet through the whole story, Santiago seems not very interested in money, right? I mean, when we meet him, he's living as a shepherd. He seems pretty happy as a shepherd, just taking care of the sheep. He's not focused on luxury, right? Even though he talks about the treasure, he doesn't really seem to care about it that much. I mean, like he never talks about wanting to buy things, right? He never talks about wanting to get a lot of nice clothes. He doesn't talk about or dream about wanting to get a huge house. He never, in the story, the whole story, from beginning to end, he never focuses on or talks about or dreams about or even thinks about spending the money. It's a little strange, isn't it? Right? Because when most people think of money, I want money, what do they think about? It's not just the money. I mean, the money's just paper or gold. It's just metal. Right? Most people, nowadays, when they think about getting rich, what do? They dream about all the stuff they're going to buy with it. Houses and cars and apartments and, I don't know, sometimes men, the girls they'll attract. Right, the parties, all this kind of stuff. Or maybe they'll use the money to get power over other people, right? But Santiago, none of that. None of that. I think what this shows me is that clearly in this story, the treasure it's a symbol. It's a symbol for something else, because Santiago just does not seem very interested in money. In fact, the only time he seems interested in money in the story is when he needs it to keep going to Egypt, right? When he sells his sheep because he needs money to go to Africa. But other than that, he never really seems to care about money very much. And then his money gets stolen, so now he needs money just to survive, which we all do. But it's not really greed. He's not trying to get super rich. Then he gets the crystal shop, and he seems to mostly just be loving and enjoying, the business. And he does save money, but again, he's just saving money to go home, and then to save money to keep going to Egypt, so he can keep going on this mission. If he just wanted money, if he just wanted to be super rich, he didn't need to leave the crystal shop. He was becoming rich as a businessman already. Right? I mean, think about it. He was becoming rich already at the crystal shop, working there as an entrepreneur. He was getting money. He was getting a lot of money. He could have stayed and continued to improve that business. He could have become super rich just doing that. Who knows? Maybe he could have started his own crystal shop. If it was just money, he didn't need to continue to go to Egypt. So I think what we're seeing is that the money is kind of an excuse. It's kind of an external symbol, right? Because of this dream he got. But really what he's following is the dream. He's following the dream, a deeper message, right? That intuition. That's what Coelho is showing us. Santiago is what's pulling him to Egypt is not really money. It's something deep in his soul. His intention is really learning. That's what we really see with Santiago in each step of the journey, is that what he's excited about, what he's focused on, is observing and learning. Right? Learning about himself, how to be more brave, more strong, just becoming more intelligent, learning about the world, learning about, spiritual lessons, and then now about alchemy. Wisdom and learning are really his true motivations when you look at his actions. That's what's pushing him to go to Egypt. It's not just money. In fact, the money really doesn't seem very important to him. As far as I can tell, I don't see anything in the story that shows that he really cares about money very much. I mean, he needs it for practical reasons like we all do. But beyond that, he doesn't seem to care about becoming a super rich guy and controlling lots of people and getting a lot of luxury. It's interesting. It's a symbol. And really, I think Coelho shows us this most clearly with the Englishman. When the Englishman describes the alchemists, right? The Englishman is telling Santiago a story, telling him about the alchemist, and gives him a book to read about the famous alchemists. And in that section, which we already talked about last time, there's a very powerful section where it talks about how the alchemists, how they started with a goal that seemed like a wrong intention, right? Just greed, money, 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 right? To turn lead into gold, to create gold from nothing. So that seems like a shallow intention. Doesn't even seem like a very good one. But then what happened, Coelho tells us, I don't know if this is true or not, but within the story, what happened is that by trying to do this basically impossible thing, the alchemists had to become super focused, super self-disciplined. In fact, they had to work so much and focus so much and be so disciplined that they gave up everything else in life. They gave up pleasure. They gave up riches. They lived a super, super simple life like monks. And then in fact, what happened is they began to discover wisdom and truth and living a good moral life and a simple life. And this changed them. And what he's saying is that what they discovered was that the true gold was wisdom. The true gold was spirit. You could say God. It's not metal, but a deep, deep, deep wisdom. And that is what the alchemists discovered was their true intention, their true goal, their true purpose. So I think this is maybe what Coelho is trying to tell us in a way, is that sometimes if we keep thinking, if we keep our minds focused, if we concentrate, if we keep trying to have a right intention, a goodness, to be good and to keep learning and to find truth, to keep focusing on truth, 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 that sometimes even shallow, right, even shallow, not meaningful goals can lead us to deeper goals and purposes and truths and wisdom. So even Santiago or the alchemists, they start with their first goal or dream is just to get a bunch of gold. But because they're good people, because they stay focused on truth and learning, they keep focusing on truth and learning and being good, that eventually God or the universe or intuition leads them to much deeper goals. That kind of shallow goal, that external goal, is just the first step, really, that leads to something much, much deeper and more meaningful. And I think what Coelho is saying is that if we follow our intuition, if we really, meditate and calm our minds and think about this deeply and keep working to have that right intention, the goodness in our heart, that even shallow goals can lead us to deeper truths. And with that, I do agree. I do agree with him there. It's so much about that right intention versus wrong intention. I mean, just imagine with Santiago. If Santiago, instead of, even if he had the same goal, get the treasure in Egypt, but imagine if instead his intention, right, his plan, was to get the gold so he could have lots of money and buy big houses and really nice clothes and have lots and lots of women and be like a big boss and tell everybody what to do. And basically be an asshole, right? Be a jerk. If that was his reason for trying to get the money, the treasure, right? Imagine that. That would lead him in a very different way. He would become a very different person. It would lead him towards evil. It would lead him towards suffering. It would lead him towards causing others to suffer. It would lead him in a very unhealthy, bad direction. However, we saw from the very beginning, Santiago is not that way. That's not his intention. That's not why he wants the treasure. Santiago, from the very beginning, is a thoughtful young man. He's basically a kind young man. He has a good heart. Doesn't want to hurt anybody. He wants, most of all, he really wants to learn. He lives a simple life. And he continues to live a simple life through the entire story. And so we can feel, it's not said directly, but we can feel through the whole story, his intentions, his reasons. There's something else. They're much more spiritual. So that makes a huge, huge difference. It's possible for two people to have the exact same goal, but if the reason is different, it can lead them to become very different people, and it can lead to very, very different results, right? You can, for example, you can want to make your body strong, build big muscles. Well, one person maybe wants to do that so they can just be healthy and have energy, and which they use for their family, to protect their family, to help people, to live a good life. And others want big, strong muscles so they can bully people and be mean, right? It's the same goal, but the intention, the purpose, the reason behind it is very different. This is why, again, the ancients taught us again and again how our mindset, our thinking, our purpose, that's where everything starts. So I think that's a good place for us to start, for you and I both, when we have a strong desire for something. And maybe we're confused. Maybe we're not sure what we should do. Maybe we're not sure if our desire is what we want. Is this good or bad? Well, I think is examine, look at your intentions, look at the purpose. Why? And again, if your purpose is for learning truth, helping others, growth, meaning personal growth, greater understanding, kindness and compassion, those are usually very good intentions that will lead you in a good way. If your purposes are more about pleasure, power, other people will notice you, you'll feel more important, you'll be more famous, whatever, those kind of things, then you'll realize it's okay. We have those sometimes, those negative intentions, but you can look at that and be honest with yourself and say, you know what, this is really a very selfish, not healthy intention. I'm wanting this for some bad reasons. I'm just going to let this go. I'm not going to continue to do this because my intentions are wrong. That's what I recommend. That's the way to do it. So join me this weekend as we finish The Alchemist, our book club class for The Alchemist. Until then, commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go on over there now. Just type in your browser on your phone or on your computer, effortlessenglishclub.com. You read that page, you can read about my Power English course, but you'll also see a button for my VIP program. You can start with either one, but commit. That's the key thing, right? You got to do it week after week, month after month. You will speak powerfully. You will speak fluently. You will speak effortlessly. You will think in English. That I promise you. Go now to effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com.